an 11-year-old mill. Boom. Hi, my name's Michael Fortune. I'm a furniture designer and maker. I've had this mill now for 11 years, and it dramatically changed my construction process. It changed my design process. So I was no longer thinking about the limitations of the material, and I was no longer limited to the dimensions that were available. You know, a lot of what I do is steam bent or laminated, and you know, all the wood here does both of those beautifully. What I've got on the mill now is an ash tree. In some cases, they'll sit here for months, and they're not sitting on the ground picking up bugs and the rest of it. They're up off the ground. But to get the logs over here, my wife would not let me buy a tractor because it would roll on me. I was explaining what I wanted to one of the neighbors, and he said, I've got some old fence posts about that big in diameter. We'll see if we could rig something up. Right over here, there's a big hook, and I've got an electric winch. And so we wrap a chain around the log. The winch rolls the log up the incline onto the frame here. To get the logs onto the mill, we made this structure that you see here. You need this space open here to walk through when you're using the mill. So this pulls out. This pulls up like so. So then we can just roll our log right onto the mill. Doesn't that work great? But it also means that you don't actually need a tractor. Cut that part out. Ash is one of the better bending woods. There is a manual that was published years ago. It was a wood bending handbook done in Britain by Stevens and Turner, and it gives all the limiting radii for domestic hardwoods. And ash, I believe, according to their manual, you can bend it to that type of shape. But because I know the piece of wood, I am able to routinely bend that wood to a much tighter radius, similar to my thumb. So I'm able to bend that wood around my thumb. Now I am using the compression straps and end stops from Lee Valley, which I guess I have to do a bit of an ad here, designed by me, manufactured by Lee Valley. We're about to steam bend a piece of hardwood. The piece of wood is a little over 1 inch thick. The general rule is 1 inch per hour when you're steaming the wood. It doesn't matter about the width, it's essentially it's the thickness. Now the box has to be very, very close to 212. And we do have a thermometer here. This is a cooking thermometer. There's different temperatures for chicken, for pork. There's a temperature for beef. But if you look really, really close, you'll see a temperature for hardwood. Now, it's not something you're looking for, so you could overlook it. What you're looking at here is my interpretation of a welder's table, which is this huge cast iron table. It might be 4 or 5 inches thick with square holes in it. So I made my interpretation of this bending table. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting our piece of wood in here after we bring it in from the steamer, and we're going to lever this around like so. And that piece of wood will compress to this form. This is hot steam, it's non-pressurized, but it's still going to burn you. Really don't want to stand here and open the box like this. You know what a lobster would feel like just as it's on its way into the pot. So you want to stand back, open the door, and making sure you're wearing gloves, you can pull the piece of wood out like so. So this is hot. And if I really had a grab on it, I would probably burn myself. So that's why I'm wearing gloves. All right, so I'm going to carry this into the studio here, and we're going to mount it in a compression strap and bend the piece of wood. We're going to just loosely clamp this in place so it's just snug. This is the fixed end stop. This is the adjustable end stop here. Now we're going to clamp it to the form, so nice and tight there. This block I've added here. When you're bending, there's an incredible amount of leverage exerted by the lever here. So without this whole thing would simply come away from the form. So now we're secured on this end. We're going to start bending it around. I can drop a pin anywhere in this table in case I need to apply another clamp. This compressive force is not particularly dangerous. You know, if something should break, things just fall apart. So it's not as though if something broke, I'd get slammed against the back wall of the workshop. We can use a clamp to help out here. We're done. What we just bent is one of these arms right here. Now, when I'm doing this for real in my workshop as opposed to a demo, we're actually bending two of those at the same time. So after the wood is set to its shape, then I can take it over to the bandsaw and rip that piece of wood down the middle, and I get both a left and a right arm. It's now trapped between the form here and the metal strap. It takes a while for this to cool, so I'd have to leave it for maybe 45 minutes or so. But if I want to speed up the process, all I have to do is put a little fan right here, blows cool air over the part. After I feel that it's cool enough, I'll take it off of this and put it on a drying jig and then bend the next piece. We would not be able to do this with kiln dried wood. Okay? You can go to a lumberyard and buy hardwood of any species, but that hardwood is invariably kiln dried. And the kiln drying process, without getting too technical, cooks the chemical in the wood called lignin, and it bonds the wood fibers together. Whereas wood that is air dried, that lignin is easily broken with heat. You know, any piece of wood in here, if it's a hardwood, not the same with softwoods, can be bent to my will. Yeah. This is obviously a homemade dry kiln, but it seems to work just fine. I've installed fans along the bottom, and there's columns where the fan drives the moist air that drops on the floor from the wood and then shoots it up and out the top of the dry kiln. So we've got a cycle happening there of drying the wood in the dry kiln. The beauty to this is it conditions the wood down to a workable moisture content 6, 7, 8, 9%, but it never really gets so hot that the lignin completely solidifies around each wood fiber. So although yes, it has been kiln dried, but it's a solar kiln, and this one will only go up to about 125 degrees. And it seems 140, 150, 170, that's where the lignin starts to solidify to really bond. So anything below that, it's still bendable. It completely opened what I can do. The people I'm working with are counting on my ability to work with wood in an economical way, but also in a manner that accommodates the nature of the material. And I've said this right from square one, that this whole thing works for me because I know how to illustrate. I know how to get my ideas across in a logical manner that appears, at least hopefully, somewhat artistic. They do teach you drawing, of course, in an art school, but you're drawing fruits and vegetables or naked people, which, I'm 19, that was thrilling, but didn't really give me much instruction on how you draw hard-edge objects. And so it took me a while, a couple of years, to figure out how to do a perspective drawing of anything that I might imagine. So now I can generate a volume of ideas and choose the ones that I would like to pursue and show those to the client. And I'll do a few more drawings and doodles and so on. And I always do a full-size mock-up done in basswood. And I go through a lot of basswood. Basswood trees like rocket out of the ground. It's blonde, easily worked. That'll help me get the shape I'm truly after. One of the joys for me in being able to mill my own wood, air dry it and so on, that wood retains the natural colors that were there. Things like walnut, you open a walnut log and you'll see blues and greens and purples. You don't see that in kiln dried wood. That process of kiln drying just makes it homogeneous brown. As a furniture maker, those are the little treats you get being able to mill your own wood. In addition to being able to mill exactly the dimension you're after. I've actually cut veneer on this sawmill. That veneer is 2 and 3 millimeters thick, which is completely wonderful. More people should know about the capacity of this mill to do that. This really has made my process much more personal and much more efficient. What I really love about woodworking is it is completely open-ended. I get to design things I'd like to pursue without concern for the how-to. I really enjoy it.